Hey guys, what's up? What's up? What's up? Welcome to this Blockchain 101 course. For anyone who's watching, this is going to be a very basic course, just the fundamentals of blockchain and how blockchain works. If anyone remembers, during we're still going through Corona. What am I talking about? We're still going through COVID. But I had started a course with UC Berkeley. I finished it, but I did an educational course with UC Berkeley. And I did one stream talking about Blockchain 101, and I said I would come back and I would do the entire 6-week program, but I didn't. But I decided to do it now, so here I am. All right. So before we get started, I wanted to give a little story of what happened to me about 2 days ago now. I'm a little concerned. But basically, I think I accidentally killed someone. That kind of sounds scary, and I know it sounds crazy, but I think I did. So I was cooking dinner, and someone came over. One of Jerome's friends came over, and apparently he was allergic to onions. I didn't know. No one told me this person was allergic to onions. And for the past 2 days, we have not heard from him, and he has not showed up at work. So I'm a little scared that I accidentally killed someone by feeding them onions in my cooking. And like, I don't know, it's just really funny to me because I just haven't been able to contact them, and I can just imagine the pastor at the funeral going, "We are gathered here today in honor of Okambi, gone too soon by an onion." You know what I mean? So that's my story for today. I hope I didn't kill him or her, or him, because I hope he's okay. I just can't get a hold of this person, and they had a severe onion allergy. So hopefully we're okay there. Anyways, moving on, let's get into this Blockchain 101 course. So today we're going to talk about how exactly does blockchain work. Again, this is a very basic course. So if you are a little more advanced, this course may not be for you. All right, so we're going to start off with the concept of money and its role as a unit of account, as it being a central to keeping track of interlocking obligations in our society. So what does that mean? So essentially, we use money to trade for stuff. We use it in our everyday lives to pay for things, acquire wealth, acquire property, etc. So in the digital era, fast forward to 2020, we don't really use physical monies or physical cash. We try to keep things on a ledger or a collective ledger, which is essentially what a blockchain is. So a lot of people say, well, why do we use blockchain? Why is blockchain a good example? Why can't we just post things on the internet? So essentially, if we were to use a system like Google Docs or posting information on the internet of transactions, it wouldn't really work. Because you have to, one, trust that everyone who has access to this ledger, they are accurate and the information is not faulty. And then two, this is something that would only work within small communities, like a kingship. It wouldn't be something that would be scalable. Even today in banks, we see all the time that automated system, AI, makes mistakes. So it would be really infeasible to do this ledger keeping ourselves. So another thing is the creators of Bitcoin, and the reason why Bitcoin was created was to mitigate this trust system, the trust of the banks, due to the 2008 debacle of the housing market, because obviously all the information that was input into the back system wasn't accurate. So essentially they created a trustless system, aka blockchain was born. So third parties and how third parties work and where they can fall. So appointing third parties to oversee and maintain a common ledger, or as we know it, a trusted third party. So as I already established, in order for things to always remain accurate, in today's society, besides blockchain, you need to have trust. You need to trust that your bank or PayPal or Alipay will actually reflect what is there. So a few drawbacks with that. One, privacy. So privacy is one of the things that a lot of people have been becoming more concerned with. I don't think privacy is something that was an issue before, besides, like KYC information, like your social security and stuff like that. But today and age, we have a lot of breaches. It's really easy to steal data and passwords and credit card numbers from a lot of these centralized databases, which is why decentralized databases, we'll talk about that in a second, kind of exists. So it's a multi-system point of failure versus having a single point of failure. So let's say TikTok decided to make its own payment platform, right? And they would distribute talk bucks. So the way that they would keep track of these talk bucks is if you posted on each other's TikTok accounts. So we already see this being done with things like Venmo. But then again, like I said, there's that transparency where you may not want anyone to know that you're transacting with someone. And I mean, sure, with Venmo, you don't have to necessarily post all the information, even though I think that's really weird in my opinion. But you don't necessarily need to post what you're paying someone for something, but it is something that if Venmo feels like you're doing fraudulent activity, they can block off your account. Another thing would be the security and compliance. Not obviously, if it's a bigger insured, US based, if we're talking within the US company, they need to have, monetary licenses and things like that. But that's not always the case for other companies overseas. Other companies may not need monetary licenses to transact, and or they might be scams, which is why you need to be careful of where you do trade and transact your money. So drawbacks, again, security, privacy, breaches and hacked. We saw Equifax got hacked just the other day. These are things that actually happen. So what are the pros? Well, it's fast and convenient. If I am distributing my own talkbooks, then I can easily revert transactions because it's within a closed loop ecosystem, meaning that everything stays within the ecosystem, which gives me the ability to retract any money as long as it's still in the receiver's account if I'm the sender. I'm sorry, guys. I don't know if you can hear my background, but someone's cutting my grass, and well, here we are. Anyways, back to this. So that's another loophole that we've had in our banking / money transacting system, where we still need to use the passwords or phrases in order to log in, things like email, personal information that if it can get leaked, it could potentially expose you in other areas. So let's go to encryption. So encryption, let's start with systemic encryption, is not new. Encryption has been around for a very long time. Think of pig Latin. You don't want someone to know what you're saying, so you encrypt your words, and this is called systemic encryption. So there's a sender and a receiver who have the same information to encrypt and decrypt the data. Now, having a systemic encryption method may not be great, only because it can be, hacked by brute force. So if someone has the same set of information that I have and vice versa, someone else, another, let's say, third party, can try to figure it out. We can take the example of when the Nazis were around. They used to use their own encrypted language to communicate. But eventually, by brute force, they were found out, and their language became decrypted by their enemies, other countries that were at war with them, because it was a one-way, or a two-way street, versus having a asystemic encryption, which is the way blockchain works, where you have a generated key that is a one-way street. So for example, this works by generating matching key pairs. And you can also think of this as a key to a lock. If you don't have that key, you cannot unlock the lock. So essentially, let me scroll down here, guys. Sorry, I'm like looking off my notes. I'm smart, but I'm not that smart. I'm just kidding. So the sender and receiver do not have the same info, essentially. So which is why public keys exist, and I'll get into public keys in just a second. But they don't have the same information. Therefore, it's not easy to decrypt the data because it is a one-way street. It's a unilateral trade. So back to public and private keys and why this is so important and why you should never, ever, 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 ever share your private keys. You can share your public keys because public keys are essentially your identifier. It's the way that things are identified on the blockchain. It's the way that third parties can verify that you either sent something or the information is accurate. It's also the way that people don't need to know who exactly holds the private keys as long as you can broadcast a signature and it would show your public key. Now, this is interesting because this is why, I don't know if you guys remember, but if you're newer to blockchain, there is a character in the system called Craig Wright. Now, there's been this ongoing argument in blockchain as to who is Satoshi Nakamoto. Satoshi Nakamoto, him, her, or they are the creators of Bitcoin, essentially. Now, logically, you would think, okay, Satoshi Nakamoto, whoever it may be, may have the first Bitcoin ever minted, maybe the first 50. You know, these are speculative ideas that have been fluttering around the community. So because Craig Wright claims to be Satoshi Nakamoto or in part of that originating group, logically, the community would ask to sign a signature in order to broadcast the public key that would show the signature to the private key, essentially on the very first Bitcoin. Obviously, he did not agree to doing that. I don't even think he commented on that. He kind of tried to avoid that route. But that would be a way to pseudo-anonymous, that's how the way that Bitcoin works. It's a pseudo-anonymous system. Verify that you are they, them, her without having to put your name out there, without having to, show your face. That's why a lot of people like the concept of blockchain. There are social media platforms, Steemit, used to use instead of passwords and username, it used to go by, a username and a private key instead of logging in with other information like a password that you would generate, and that made sense because the private key was locked to your account and your account only, and that would mitigate the need for Steemit to hold that information. Therefore, if there was a breach on their social media platform, nothing would be stolen because they simply do not carry that information on them. So 3 steps when it comes to private and public keys. One is the key generation. You can generate a key. When you generate a key, you get your private and public key. Your private key is the one you hold close to home. You don't give to no one. Your public key is the one where you can use in order to identify yourself whenever you're doing transactions. That is your identifying key. 2 is doing a private key signature. So when you send a transaction, obviously you're using things from within Homebase, your account, and it does use both your private and public keys. However, when it sends out that private signature, it displays as your public key because it's wrapped. Your public key is basically wrapped around your private key. That's how it kind of represents that feature, essentially. And then 3, signature verification. That basically allows third parties to verify who you are and that you are the owner / holder of this private key. Again, mitigating the need of somebody actually needing to see your face. So lastly, I'm going to go over some Bitcoin info. This is about the way that Bitcoin is kind of like, I guess, how do I say it? Not created, but the way that Bitcoin is essentially unhackable, as we hear. Bitcoin is hackable. It's not unhackable. It uses an elliptic curve to encrypt the data, which as of right now is not easy to hack unless you have a quantum computer. So quantum computing essentially can answer, let's say, 1 million math questions within a second, right? Right now, our computers do not have the processing power. My computer does not have the processing power to do that, which is why even having 1 million easy math questions to answer in order to hack something is a good way of encrypting, data, because it's really hard to hack into it, realistically speaking. So whenever quantum computing comes around, I hope we do quantum integration into Bitcoin, because that would essentially potentially kill the ecosystem. But I want to say that is just about it on Blockchain 101. I guess I'll do a little wrap course. So essentially, one, blockchain is a ledger. It does not need to be distributed, though, keyword. Blockchain can be centralized or decentralized, meaning that blockchain itself keeps information and it stores it, but whether or not parties have it in one place or have multiple nodes that hold and verify this information, that's up to the parties. Blockchain can work differently, but essentially it is a database that stores information. And then the concept of generating keys instead of generating usernames and passwords can be safer when using social media and sending money. So I hope that made sense. That was my Blockchain 101 course. I'm going to go back here. Hello to anyone who's watching on either Twitter or what's my other platform here, YouTube. I hope that was simple enough. I tried to break it down and cram as much information as I could within with less words. So I hope that made sense. But that's about it for me today. I will come back, I guess tomorrow maybe, or next week. I'll probably do the 101 courses maybe once a week, kind of just to space it out. But that's all I have for today. Thank you guys for watching. Like, share, subscribe, share this video to anyone who you think might find it useful. Again, this was a very basic video. Maybe when I teach the basics, I'll get into more, I guess, protocol and more technical stuff, more technical terms. But for right now, I'm starting from the basics. So thanks, guys, for tuning in.